Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. This is a big jam-packed episode. Aston Villa's season review. Villa fans, you've been here all season and now this is the last one of the season, reflecting on what's happened. So play your part. Make sure you are subscribing to this channel. Big things are coming. Hit that like button, the last big one. Well, we've got another episode coming after this, but this is like the big one. So make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's try and go for 1,200 likes on this one. And most importantly, comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. It's jam-packed. We've got lots of things to go through. We're going to go through every single month of Aston Villa's season. We're going to take a look at the key games, the bad games. We're going to rate the season. We are going to rate Unai Emery. We are going to go through some of these little topics and little, not awards, but areas that I've highlighted that are going to be on our review. Goal of the season, most improved player, individual performance of the season, best win of the season, surprise of the season, biggest disappointment of the season, and then we're going to take a look at the Premier League player of the season and Premier League young player of the season. So that's what we're going to go through. When we hit those certain areas, then if you can remember to put yours in there, that would be really good. So you might want to get a pen and paper for this one and jot down some notes and do some work rather than just sitting and watching. So grab your pen and paper, pause it if you need to, and let's get straight into it then. So we're going to go with, we'll save overall thoughts. We'll run through the months first, and then we'll do overall thoughts. We'll change my schedule a little bit. Right, so August, we had first game of the season, West Ham, Arsenal at home, which was a loss, and Leicester away. And this was a pretty good month for Aston Villa. We won on the opening day. John Duran got the winner at West Ham. And it was a great start to our season. Very, very good. Exactly what you want to start a season like. And we was able to go to West Ham, a team that had recruited what looked like very well. And we got the victory, started the season brilliantly. And then we had Arsenal at home. And it's mad to think that that was our only loss at home all season in the Premier League. Was our first game of the season against Arsenal. And really, we shouldn't really have lost that one, should we? Because we played very, very well and we created lots of opportunities. But was it a sign of what was to come? Maybe in that game, looking back, thinking about it, Ollie Watkins missing loads of gilt-edged chances. 2, if I remember. He had the shot and he had the header. And did that sort of play into a little bit of our early home form, which we're going to get into in the coming months? Because it was a little bit a tale of what was to come. We only lost one at home, but there was times where we did struggle this season at home. And then we had the Leicester away performance where we won. A tough game because, you know, they'd already lost a few and it was a big one for them. So I think here, guys, probably the most important one was actually this one, because there's a pattern to part of our season. And as we go again, you're going to start to see what this pattern is. But I think that was quite a big one. Obviously, the main ones were that we won those 2 games and we started our winning run away from home as well. But I think that Arsenal game does have a little bit of significance of what was to come. So we then go into September. September, we had a win against Everton. We had our first Champions League win here. We had a win against Wolves. We beat Wickham in the Cup, and then we drew to Ipswich away. And where we're getting at with the Arsenal performance was we started to struggle at home. We started to concede goals at home. We had to come back in this one from 2-0 down. John Duran saved us with that absolute worldie of a strike that was just out of nowhere. Possibly the best goal this season. Possibly. Champions League, first Champions League victory on that sort of 3G pitch. That game had sort of like trepidation written all over it. And then another game that we played pretty poorly at home, but we had to come back and fight back. And then we went away to Ipswich and drew 2-2. So September was an okay month because we won, we got the victory there, we progressed in the cup and we drew. But again, the importance of probably at the time, that was probably like a decent point, I think. I think the Ipswich point was probably decent because you're looking at, you've still got plenty of games to go. It looked at the time, because I think they'd started the season pretty well, pretty competitive, that they were going to do really well this season, Ipswich, but that didn't come into fruition and they really tailed off. So at the time, it was probably a good point, but looking back, it was a bad point. So September was good again because we were winning games, but the signs were there that Villa at home, we were starting to struggle a little bit. So here we go into October, and October was okay-ish. Bayern Munich, we'll get into. Manchester United, Premier League draw. A very good away win against Fulham. A very good Champions League win. Problem. And big problem. They are a big problem within our season. And we'd only just got to October and they were a problem. So we've got to talk about Bayern Munich, guys, because that was a truly special, magical night. And one of my fondest memories of the season, and probably one of my fondest ever Aston Villa memories. That game will live with me for the rest of my life because it was so important. Aston Villa back in the Champions League at home, first game back. We won. The goal, the John Duran goal, was exceptional. And I felt like it was one of those little percentages that add to Villa becoming a complete team. Stepping up on a big night and getting the victory. It was honestly probably the best night I've had at Villa. I would say it's the best night I've had at Villa. The celebrations, just what it meant, was fantastic. And then we start to get a feel of a little bit of our problem this season was after those Champions League nights, we really lacked the energy to get ourselves back up for that next Premier League game. But we recovered well. A win against Fulham, a win against Bologna, and a big problem. And I know a lot of people have been talking about these games, the games against Ipswich, the games against Bournemouth, the dropped points, the loss against Wolves, parts of our season where you look back and think, if we'd have got 1 or 2 more points there, then we could have done it. But I've got to be honest, I can't. I look at it in that way slightly, but at the end of the day, you are where you finish where you deserve to be. And if buts and if we beat this team and if we beat that team, I kind of feel like every team can do that. Every team could go, if we won this one, we'd finish here, or if we've won this one, we'd finish here, because we could all do it. But you have to just own it and say, unfortunately, we fell short. So we must own it and improve. Yes, those were problem games, but if Arsenal won every game this season, they would have won the league. So it's that if buts and maybes, own it and be better. And then we had Crystal Palace out in the cup, which was a bad one. You can't paper that any other way other than it was a bad one. So here we now have November, and November was a bad Premier League month. It was very, very bad. And November, December, I think, started quite bad. So we've got the loss here to Spurs away, crumbled. We've got the loss to Bruges away, the Mings handball. We actually played quite well away at Anfield and lost. We had the opportunity to go ahead in this game. The Yuri Tielemans penalty. They go down the other end of the pitch and score. Big problem game. And the Juventus one, we were robbed at the end. So a bad Premier League month, really, because just as much as you could look at and say the Ipswich to Bournemouths, this was a bad one for where Spurs finished. This was a bad one as well, Crystal Palace at home. So that month wasn't too great either. And then we go into December. So December, we had a bad game against Chelsea, a good victory against Brentford, solid victory against Southampton, a really solid away Champions League win against Leipzig, a very bad performance against Nottingham Forest in the end when we crumbled. We then beat Manchester City at home to go into Christmas well. We then have a bad performance away at Newcastle, John Duran sent off, and then a pretty good game. That was a good game. I remember that game. It was quite competitive. So again, going into December, good and bad, up and down. You know, just sometimes doing well, sometimes not doing that great and falling short. Now, I spoke to you all about at the start that this season there are patterns and there are different things that happen in our season that have an impact of where we finished. And I think you can all see that from 2024 Villa Premier League, it was a juggling act. It was juggling Champions League. It was juggling the group stage. It was meshing everything together, up and down. And I think we were okay. We weren't nothing special, were we? We were just pretty okay. Fell short in areas, did well in others. And we've got two parts to our season. And when you look at this next part, there's two different parts. Now, the important thing that I will mention is that it's very important to have a good calendar year. And it's very important from January to May, because what generally happens in the Premier League is this. Teams that do poorly in the calendar year, the start of the year, and end the Premier League season, generally start the next Premier League season pretty poorly. And teams that do well first part calendar year can generally take it into the next season. Doesn't always happen, but it happens pretty regularly. So Villa, 2025 Premier League, was completely different to Villa 24 Premier League in that phase of August to January. So we're going to take a look at it. And we're going to take a look at what actually happened in Villa's ending to the season, well, the second phase of Villa's season. And there was a real shift of making sure that we improve. I remember at the time we were looking at coming out of the Champions League group phase and thinking, okay, once that's finished, we've got knockout football, games aren't as regularly. But January was a good turning point for Aston Villa, and one where we did improve dramatically. So we beat Leicester at home. We beat West Ham in the FA Cup. We went to Goodison and won in Moyes' first game. We drew 2-2 against Arsenal, coming back from behind. Bad one against Monaco. We then drew with West Ham in the Premier League 1-1 and beat Celtic 4-2. So Villa started to turn the screw a little bit and get results against the type of teams that we need to. Yes, we drew 1-1 with West Ham. It wasn't the greatest of games, but this was a big one. The Arsenal one was very, very big, and these three were really important as well. So, again, it was really nice to beat Celtic. I thought that was a real good one. I've always wanted to play Celtic and see where we are with Celtic. That was a bit of a mad game when they came back, but we got the job done in that one. So we then go into February, and February was okay. February was okay, but we have a turning point here, guys. We have a turning point. This was the one that everybody is looking at. Ipswich down to 10 men, go 1-0 up. Keeper has a worldie of a game, and we draw the game 1-1. That is a standout one. At home against Liverpool, really good result. We then beat Chelsea in a must-win game. But before that, we've lost to Wolves, which was awful, and we've beat Spurs in the Cup. So again, just like the Ipswich, we've gone to the Molineux again and lost, which is terrible because we just don't win there. So February was pretty okay, pretty average to be fair. But then these two sort of paper over that there. Turning point. We just didn't turn up. Absolute disaster. But from that moment, guys, it was a bit of a blessing. So we've got games this season where we've really struggled and have been a bit of a blessing. And then we beat Cardiff to go through to the next phase of the Cup as well, the FA Cup. We have a pretty quiet March. We beat Bruges away, beat Brentford away, win at home against Bruges, and go through to the next round of the FA Cup. Big win here. This was this Olsen's clean sheet? I can't remember. But Disasi played well. And then we'd done the job on Bruges and got into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which was absolutely incredible. We then move into April, and this was a huge month for Villa. And it was, again, it was pretty good, really, when you look at some of the results that we had. So we had a victory away against Brighton, very good for Aston Villa. We had a win at home against Nottingham Forest. We then went away to PSG and lost. We beat Southampton. We beat PSG. We beat Newcastle. And at that point, you know, all these wins here in the Premier League are starting to look very good for Aston Villa. I'll talk about Champions League in a second. This was a huge victory against Newcastle. We then go away to Manchester City and lose. in the last minutes. And then we absolutely have a disaster against Crystal Palace. So some real standout performances against Brighton, Forest, Newcastle, doing the job in the Premier League. Champions League, we eventually go out to PSG. And a little bit of a tale of our season at times of falling short, just letting yourself down a little bit. PSG conceding late on, doing all that hard work, 2-1, take it to Villa Park. Manchester City away, 1-1, do all the hard work. Last kick of the game, fall short, let yourself down. Wembley, not turn up, fall short, should do better, perform. Leaves me with feelings of Villa just not quite being there and showing the true capabilities of this team. Just falling short slightly in key moments that have cost us along the way. Those key moments, Ipswich not defending correctly. But the Champions League campaign was special. It was amazing. It showed me what we were capable of. But it also showed me that we can do more. So April was a good month in the Premier League because it showed that we were back in the race. We were back in the Champions League race and we were there ready to compete. And then the final month of the season, we beat Fulham, we beat Bournemouth, we beat Spurs. Everything that we needed to do, win, win, win. And the final part fell short. And that, to me, is a little bit of a tale of our season. Some very, very good moments showing that we're a good team, showing that we can be partly consistent in 2025, inconsistent in the first part of 2024, and just falling short on fine margins, fine details, little areas, moments where this season at times could have looked a lot different if we'd have been there at the right moments and pounced at the right moments. So my overall thoughts of the season are predicted 6th. We've got 6th. And my thoughts are that it's been a good season. It's been a season of growth in the sense of we've been able to compete again on different fronts. And reflecting and looking back on the season, I believe it has been a good season because I don't want to compare Villa to other clubs, but Newcastle, when they were in the Champions League, the following season, no European football, they finished on the same points as Aston Villa, finished above us on goal difference. So what Villa have had to deal with this season, freshly competing with Champions League and finishing 6th. You know, a lot of people look back on Martin O'Neill days of being very, very good in the Premier League. And we've matched one of those seasons by finishing 6th, as well as competing in the Champions League, as well as going to the semi-final. Yes, we've not won anything, but we've competed in different areas, different parts of our season. But like I say, we have to use these experiences as guidance going into next season on what we want to do and what our objectives are and what we want to achieve and where we want to be and just build and grow. So overall, I think it's been good. I'm going to rate the season now. And I want you guys to rate the season as well. And I'm going to rate it. I'm going to give it an 8. And I'm going to give it an 8 for this reason. We were a point away from qualifying for the Champions League again. 1 point. And had we have got that point, we would have all probably rated this season about a 10. Getting Champions League football, competing in the Champions League, that's a very, very good season. The fact that we fell short, it has to be around an 8 because we've competed, we've got Europe again, and Europa League. It's not like we've got Conference League where it's a bit like, oh, it's not the great, it's not amazing. Like Europa League still is a very good competition to be in, and it holds its weight. So the fact that we was able to do that, and let's be honest, we weren't as good as last season, I don't think, but we ended it better. We didn't play as well as last season, but we've been able to get Europe again. I think an 8 is good. I think an 8 is very, very good. Now, rate your season in the comments. Now we're going to rate Unai Emery now. And some might say you have to rate him the same as what you've rated the season, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give Unai Emery a 7. And I'm going to give him a 7 for these reasons. Overall season for me has been very good. We've competed well, but we have fallen short in one game in particular of reaching the FA Cup final. And the way that we performed that day was absolutely atrocious. And that's on someone. That's on the players. That's on the manager. We had an opportunity of getting to the final, and congratulations to Crystal Palace for winning it, but we didn't turn up at all. We did not turn up at all. Now, whether that's Palace having a game plan or doing well against us, we didn't turn up. We didn't turn up against Manchester United either when something was at stake. And Unai Emery this season has changed the way that Villa play. We were more controlled, more laboured, more calm, more possession-based. And that's fine. That style is fine. It's got a 6th place. It narrowly missed out on Champions League. But where I feel like Emery needs to look back on this season is game to game. Sometimes we have tactical plans and they are fantastic. Newcastle, Forest at home, standout games where I'm like, that was incredible. But at times, we're a little bit too respectful and we are a little bit too within ourselves, and we've got to break away from that. Yes, don't go gung-ho, don't lose the game, don't blow it, but sometimes there's an importance on being at it and aggressive away from home. And I think at home, we are fantastic. 1 loss at home all season. Away from home, not as good. Too safe, too ponderous. And I think that's cost us a little bit this season. So next season, we need to have a little bit more of a dynamic feel. And that probably comes with recruitment. So for me, Emery gets a 7 because I don't expect more from Emery, but I feel like at times we need to just open up a bit more. So a 7 is solid, but there's more there for me. And I think we fell short in certain games. So that's a little bit of a 30-minute on the whole season. Villa fans, let me know your rating for the season and rating for Emery. We're going to go into goal of the season now. And goal of the season, I'm not going to do a Villa. Goal of the season should be Duran, right? Should be Duran. And it's probably Everton at home. That's goal of the season because he's absolutely smacked it from nowhere, curved it top corner, and it's an unbelievable goal. Bayern Munich, brilliant. Was it Leipzig where he lobbed the keeper as well? I'm sure Leipzig he's lobbed the keeper, or one of them away he's lobbed the keeper. But my goal of the season is the Duran at Everton. But there's another goal that I loved, and it was Onana against Newcastle, edge of the box. Now, going into next season, that's where we need to see Onana. And Onana scored some big goals for Villa. He got the goal on the opening day. He got the goal against Leicester. He got the goal against Young Boys, edge of the box. Onana against Newcastle, that deserves a rating. Now, most improved player award for me goes to, if we have a drum roll, most improved player, Yuri Tielemans. He was good anyway, but the way Tielemans has improved and grown as a player has been incredible. Absolutely incredible. And what I will mention, and I still see it, and we can't keep seeing it, guys, is focusing on players that don't play. They will have their time. They will have their time. Daniel Marlon will have his time. Emery sometimes is more patient with certain players. So Tielemans last season was more of a in the number 10 role. This season owned that Douglas Luiz position. He'd been in the school of Unai Emery. He's developed, he's grown, he's added the goals, the assists. He's been the heartbeat of this Villa team. Yuri Tielemans has been nothing short of incredible for Aston Villa. So he gets my most improved player. Individual performance of the season goes to Morgan Rogers against Arsenal. He was unplayable that day. And I think that performance had a massive part in the growth of Morgan Rogers with his belief, with his understanding of Emery's system. He was incredible that day. And yes, it might not be a game-winning performance, but I think it was one that holds fruit in the sense of it enabled him to have the season that he did have. So it was brilliant. But again, I think it again highlights that Morgan Rogers next season has to play behind the striker. We have to recruit on the right-hand side to be able to enable Rogers to play in his best position. So that was my performance of the season. Best win of the season, I'm going to say the Newcastle United one. I think there's different ones. PSG was incredible. Bayern Munich was incredible. But Newcastle, because of we needed to win, and we did. You know, we've shown at times that we can win when we need to. But I think there's a difference between that game and sort of Wembley and the Manchester United game. There's proper something at stake. We can win pressure games, but when there's something at stake, I'm still not there. So that was my best win of the season. Surprise of the season is Leon Bailey. A big part of Villa at times this season has been certain players being inconsistent. But again, the reason why Rodgers is out on the right is because the player that should be on the right starting games, offering moments and being consistent and performing, wasn't there. So what happened, because we've got no winger on the right, we had to play one of our best players out of position, move things around a little bit. And for me, that's all because of Leon Bailey. And I know a lot of people hate Rodgers on the right, but I do stick with Emery and go, who else could go there? If it's not Rodgers, who is it? If it's not Rodgers, it's McGinn. And if it's not, who's on the left then? So part of our system breakdown of what's gone wrong is the fact that Leon Bailey was just non-existent. And I wasn't one of these players this season that was really slating him. You know, I was at the games and he'd get the ball and I'd go, I'd want him to do something. I was so wanting him to perform and deliver, but he just wouldn't. He couldn't do it. And that has been a big part of a problem for Aston Villa. You cannot go into a season and have certain players that aren't contributing. And he was one of them. And that's the big surprise that he didn't perform this season. And from a senior professional, top pro, yes, he was injured. But you look at the end of the season now, we look at the end of the season, guys, he's in all the squads and he's not even coming off the bench. And that speaks volumes. So I'm very, very disappointed with the season that Leon Bailey had. So not good. Not good. A biggest disappointment of the season was Wembley. Just a bad memory. And very, very disappointed that we didn't turn up. And a missed opportunity. So overall, a bit of a mixed bag. Very good stuff, some frustrating stuff. So overall, Premier League-wise, player of the season for me probably has to be Mo Salah. I think he was so good early on in the season. Was just stepping up, scoring, destroying absolutely everybody. Apart from one player who always plays him very well, Luka Dean. A young player, I've gone for a young player. I think when the Premier League do theirs and give it Gravenberch, who's 23. I know 23 is young, but like you're at your peak at what, 28, 29? So young player should be someone who's young, and I think it's Delap. I think Delap really stepped up for Ipswich early on, scored goals, massive threat, great finisher, going to have a bright future. You could go Lewis Skelly. I think he's been pretty good. But I will go Delap. I thought he was very good this season. So that's my season review. Now, I just want to thank some people. So I'm going to thank you guys at home, first and foremost, because without you, then the channel doesn't exist because nobody watches and you are watching. And we've had our best year ever on the channel. So thank you, everybody that watches. Thank you, everybody who comments. Sometimes I don't remember your names, but when I see your picture and I see your name, then I know who you are. You know, Michael, Trashy. You know, there's so many of you that comment all the time, and you're always there, and you are, you know, you do help me because you agree, disagree, comment, and we have really good discussions. I'll try and comment to everybody and thank you, especially for your comments. And what that comment section's there for is that you put your thoughts, and the amount of people that interact then with your comments, that's your community and platform to be able to comment and share and just talk to each other. It's always pretty amicable, really. So that's good. But I always do thank pretty much everybody. Sometimes when it gets a bit too much, I can't. So I'll just but that, you'll understand that there's a lot of people that are commenting. So I just want to thank everybody for really supporting the channel and helping it grow and getting on this journey. And it's been really, really good. So thank you. Then we've got to thank Ryan, Hannah, and Justin for all of their hard work. Earl as well, who have been coming on all season and offering their thoughts and their insights. We will do an episode where we're reacting to our season predictions, which should be quite fun as well. So we'll do that one. So I just want to thank those four, especially for all of their hard work. I want to thank Andrew and Hannah and Matthew and Justin again, who help on the fan cams, who hold that camera. I mean, holding that camera on the fan cams when it's cold, when it's late, when we watch the games and we get back to the car and, I upload them in the car. And I want to thank those guys for all of their support and, especially this season and everything like that. So thank you to all of those guys as well. And just thoughts from myself, really. I think that this season has been my best as a content creator. I've wanted to create content that I really enjoy creating. The tactical stuff. We've got the new Villains channel that's offering something a little bit different as well. And just making sure that the content is good and to a high level, really. The tactical stuff, I think you all know that's something that I really like. It's a niche topic, but I think it adds depth to the content. And like I say, it's something that I really enjoy doing when I'm breaking down opposition teams and opposition fans are saying that's absolutely amazing. I wish we had someone that could do this, who creates content for my club, etc. I think that's a really fantastic compliment. And I think we should all be proud of what we've been able to do this season, especially on this channel. And we've got bigger and better things that we're going to aspire to be and grow into. And it's all about just growing together and sort of like Villa, really reaching our end destination. So the channel's nothing without you. I guess it's nothing without me. Like, if I'm not there, then you're not there. So we have to come hand in hand together. But the tactical stuff I think has really propelled the channel to another level, really, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So next up, then we're going to have keep or sell, and be prepared for that one, guys, because I am not holding back. I'm not holding back. And then, welcome to Transfer Hub, your home of Aston Villa's transfer news, rumours, links, noise, murmurings, incomings and outgoings across the summer. That will be back. So stay tuned for that one and just enjoy it. Transfer Hub's there to live and breathe the transfer window. It's there to take us on a journey from an early rumour to a signing. Do a lot of them come off? No. But they are transfer rumours where we are reacting to the rumours, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll go on a journey. I'll try and have fun with it. I'll try and add a bit of something to it. So it's there for the content as well. It's there for the personality. It's there for the vibes. Who's going to be that player who we love all window and don't sign? There's always one. Conor Gallagher. I'm not mentioning his name. JF, I'm not mentioning his name. There's others. There's others. So let's see who we get. So just want to say thank you for everything this season. And next season will be bigger and better than before. Right then. Cheers, everyone. Up the Villa.